She chuckled derisively at me. Your phone made my $400,000 spending spree quite enjoyable, she quipped, making it seem as if the whole thing was some amusing prank. Yet, my muscles didn't tense, my heart didn't race. Instead, I returned a slow, composed smile that held a hint of satisfaction she hadn't seen in ages. For unbeknownst to her, the account she drained wasn't mine. It appeared to be, sharing the same bank name, design, and transaction history. However, it was an identity I'd crafted years ago for a different purpose, a backup for another kind of crisis. She didn't rob me. She robbed someone else, someone who doesn't report crimes to the police, but instead buries them. He is Leela, the one I met during our financially strapped days when we survived on ramen and lived on dreams. She would trace my palm and say my lifeline was too long to squander. Back then, I took her words seriously, believing we were fighting for something together. In my apartment, I established a cybersecurity company, which eventually flourished. I invited my partner into my life as well: marriage, bank accounts, insurance, homeownership, and shared everything equally with her. Perhaps that was my initial error, equating love with access, oaths with devotion. She used to hum while cooking. This ceased 6 months ago along with her regular sleep schedule. Instead of sleeping, she'd linger in the hallway, whispering late into the night. I wasn't suspicious yet, but I observed subtly. The wine bottles accumulated, and her phone became password protected. A sense of unease stirred within me, silent. One midnight, at precisely 2:13 a.m., I witnessed her installing something on my phone without uttering a word. I merely watched with half-closed eyes, maintaining a composed breath and heartbeat. She believed I was asleep. The software she installed was a banking overlay, disguised as a budget planner, but it functioned as spyware, intended to swipe logins and match transactions. She installed it after an OS update, confident that I'd regard the permissions as standard. Astute, bordering on astonishment. Yet, she believed herself victorious. 2 weeks subsequently, $400,000 was missing from my account, and she too vanished. A photograph surfaced 2 days later, showing her aboard a yacht, boasting sun-kissed skin and sunglasses, toasting with a man whose face remained untagged. Her caption hinted at new beginnings. Toasts to liberty. I remained silent. I did not weep. I observed. I scrutinized each word of that post as if it were a confession. I examined the GPS metadata she had neglected to erase. The location was Dominican Republic, a private dock rented under an alias. She believed herself cunning. However, I had been observing this game longer than she had been participating in it. The account that she emptied was one of 3 I had maintained within the digital shields of ghost identity, shells I constructed during my initial hacking days. These entities were untraceable, detached from the grid, connected to names that only existed in the server's twilight realm. One of them belonged to a man named Victor Ruiz, who was a cartel middleman and perished in 2017. His accounts, however, remained active. When I noticed her using it, I allowed the transaction to proceed. First step. Remotely, I retrieved her phone data, focusing on texts, voice memos, and photos, particularly those with Alex. Alex was a previous club promoter, now dabbling in crypto investments. Lackadaisical about encryption, making him simpler to trace than a city bus route. Second step. I left a trail of phony cryptocurrency wallets filled with promising returns. Their insatiable greed took over, leading them to move all the funds into a private wallet that could be accessed through a single seed phrase. I had earlier provided Alex this phrase via a decoy app named WalletTrack. Third step. I waited patiently. 2 weeks later, they returned to town. She entered like she was the owner, boasting about the win. She referred to it as a score. I offered her wine, listened, and nodded while she gloated. That night, I anonymously messaged an old contact in Bogota, a name with ties to Victor Ruiz, who still harbored the belief that Victor was alive and seething with anger. The message was brief. They took Victor's money. He desires its return. I provided the bank transaction logs, routing numbers, IP addresses, photos, sufficient evidence to construct a narrative, yet concealing my involvement. Within a few days, Alex vanished. Not deceased, merely missing. The last detected location was an airport terminal. She became frantic, filed a missing persons report, wrote a post pleading for prayers. Meanwhile, I transferred the funds, my funds, into a clean trust. New identity. New residence. Everything in motion. She returned home one evening to find the house vacant. Furniture relocated. Utilities disconnected. Locks replaced. And me? I was seated at the dining table with a solitary document. Divorce papers. She tried to shout. I presented her with a pen. It would be wise to sign before someone else discovers you. You robbed from a spirit. Spirits do not forgive. Her complexion paled. You deceived me, she murmured. I leaned closer. No, you deceived yourself. I merely reflected your actions. She signed, her hands quivering. No more sarcastic remarks. No more yacht captions. Just quietude. The kind that follows an explosion. That night, I departed the house without a backward glance. The air seemed purer, more chilling, more straightforward. Many believe that treachery shatters you. Yet it does not. It carves you, honing your sharpness, revealing who you are when there's nothing left to cling to. She assumed she outsmarted me. However, deceit is a craft, and retribution, skillfully executed, is a grand work of art.